As medical director at Kyantis, I am passionate of better understanding what clinical trial patients really need, and I am intimately convinced that connecting with them is the only way to make sure we include their perspectives into our developments. It might be tempting, to think that patients fear clinical trials, to suppose that they are not keen in using digital solutions, or even to assume that elderly populations would be reluctant to technology or would not even think of joining a decentralized trial where conducting visits at home would require them to use a lot of digital tools and to take the risk of potentially losing a little bit of this human touch that remains so important in our lives. I think it is time for us to challenge our beliefs and to directly ask patients what they need for us to better understand how they perceive using digital tools in clinical trials and how ready they are to join decentralized studies. So I am very happy and proud to share with you today on behalf of Kyantis and Trishna Baradia, a multiple sclerosis patient, being as well a very strong health advocate and experienced industry advisor, the results of a co-created study that we ran with numerous patients associations across the US and Europe. The value of partnering with an advocate doesn't have to be demonstrated anymore. You probably all know that it really significantly increases the power of the research we do, and it sits in many aspects that I will come back to in a minute. I just wanted to share with you before sharing the results of our survey that in the survey that we decided to launch, which was aiming at asking patients about their personal perception of digital solutions and their expectations with regards to the new normal clinical trial models, it was really key for us to partner with a high-level patient advocate who was experienced in working with the industry and who was knowledgeable of several disease areas. Trishna Baradia brought her insights into also into how patients' communities work, really what they expect, how they want to work with the industry, which was really key for this research. And Trishna, being widely networked and experienced working across several geographic regions, made also her being a strong asset in reaching out to multiple associations around the globe. It was key for us as we wanted to have a representative research, of course. This is very important if you are looking to partner with an advocate who actually you can very simply find by listening to a virtual conference and then connect via LinkedIn, which is what I actually did to meet with Trishna. So I was saying that we run a powerful research in partnering with her. We created an 11-question survey that we really developed together. The goal was not to just tick the box and make sure our survey would have been reviewed by a health advocate. We really co-created the content, ensuring the tone, the use of the language were adapted and confirming that the whole content up to the relevance of the questions really were appropriate to the patients. We worked in parallel, Trishna and us, to identify individuals and patients' organizations appropriate for responding to that survey, which really helped a wide and appropriate dissemination. And this was very helpful for us to benefit, if I can say, from the network of Trishna, not only to support the dissemination of our survey, but really for establishing long-term relationships, as we don't want this research to be, one shot of connecting with patients' associations and then we're done. No, that's not the way we want to work. We really want to establish long-term relationships for future work to continue in collaboration with patients' organizations. Last but not least, working with Trishna was helpful in contextualizing the results. We were making sure that we were doing the right analysis of the results we obtained. So all this together made your project being very valuable. So what did the patients tell us? I'm going to present to you what we asked them, what they directly told us answering to that survey. So first, let's see a little bit who our patients were. So we were very happy having conducted a research that, thanks to these networks, has been responded by 1,133 subjects in a few, participants in a few weeks. That was really a very important result, and it's bringing, of course, power to our research. 90% of this patient population were based in the US, 10% were ex-US, and thanks to the fact that we had a very good response rate, even if the ex-US group was smaller, it's still a good chunk of patients responding to our questionnaire. On this part of the slide, you can see that the age was except from the extreme, spread in the different age groups, and combined together, the 45, 59, and 60, 74 age groups represented 76% of our respondents. Asking our respondents about their working status, 67% of them responded that they were not working. And very interestingly, as it comes to the reasons for not working, more than 50% of them answered that they're unable to work. So let's keep that in mind. Patients who don't work, not just don't work because they reach the age of retirement, which you could see on the previous slide, by the way, but really because of the disablement, because of potentially multiple conditions, people have to stop experiencing the very basic expectation of going to work. They just have to stop doing this because of the disease. Asking our survey respondents about the therapeutic areas, you can see on that slide that a lot of participants had a condition that were spread, in those different therapeutic areas. You can see on the slide with an important amount of participants suffering from neurology disorders. This important amount of responders is due to the fact that a few patients' associations in neuro disorders such as multiple sclerosis and Parkinson's had a very important response rate. I want to draw your attention on the fact that 26% of the patients ticked more than one box as it comes to which therapeutic area, do you have a disease that you live with. So it's very important to realize, as it comes to clinical trials, we often tend to remember and to focus only on the very disease that the patients would like to enter the study for. And it is a key to keep in mind that multiplying the conditions can only add burden and complexity to the trial participation for those patients. So why do patients join clinical trials? Why actually we particularly were interested in a little bit understanding the reasons for patients to not participate in a clinical trial before we investigated more on the patient's expectations and preferences. So first, let's just make sure we understand who those survey participants were. Again, amongst all our responders, 1/3 of the survey participants responded that they participated at least once in a clinical trial. This means 2/3 didn't participate in a clinical trial. From those 2/3 who never participated, let us see the reasons why. 70% of the respondents who never participated in a clinical trial have not been offered the opportunity or have not known about clinical trials. It's a very important figure to see here, that 70% of the patients are just not aware. So it is very important for all of us to keep that in mind. And remember, we all have a role to play here in promoting clinical trials, making sure they are better known, they are more considered as an option for patients. Interestingly, you can see that only 6% of our survey respondents selected the reason that they did not wish to participate as the reason why, and we will come back to those reasons in a minute. So let's challenge a little bit our beliefs. Let's see at who our patients, how our patients behave, and let us see if aging is impacting patients' perceptions, patients' preferences, patients' expectations. So let's come back a little bit to our previous question when we asked our survey participants if they joined a clinical trial, and if no, what was the main reason. This slide shows you the different age ranges and shows how the few patients, the 6%, who said they refused to join a clinical trial, why they refused to join. You can see on the right part of the slide the different reasons, and how they accumulate in the different age ranges. If we focus on the orange and the blue, you can see on the bottom of the right side, those two reasons, if we combine them, the possibility of receiving the placebo, the fear that the disease would not improve, or the possible side effects from the said drug, combined together create, let's say, what we could call the health-related reasons. So, the reasons that I could say as a participant, that I would characterize as being the reason because I fear for my health and I want my disease to improve. That would be the reason why I wouldn't join. When we combine those two reasons, they accumulate in the not very younger, but let's say the two still young and middle age age groups, they accumulate and correspond to more than 50% of the responses. It's interesting to see that they really are selected as very importantly in those age groups, which could be, the age where this is the very active period of life. There can be work and social life and sport and potentially children at home. And so maybe this is the age where it is seen as the disease can be seen as very burdensome, and the disease would have to improve in one way or another. And so as patients, in this age group, they wouldn't want to take the risk for the disease to not improve. Whilst maybe in the older age ranges where patients could have been living longer with their condition, they would also maybe not work anymore, not have children at home, and be less active. And so maybe at this age, the patients would be developing a sort of resilience, or, and that would maybe make them not select this reason as importantly as in the younger population. And so in those age groups, the different reasons for not joining a clinical trial then are more evenly spread. That being said, across age groups and across geographic regions, our patients were unanimously responded to the question as to what is most important for them if they join a clinical trial. What do they expect first? Clear and simple information. So as it comes to informing patients, to training them, to creating informed consent, we all have to remember those figures in mind. Patients expect clear and simple information more than anything else, as you can see that was proposed in this question. Let us focus a little bit now on how the survey participants characterize their experience using electronic devices as it comes to using them in the clinical trial settings. First, we wanted to understand how many of the survey participants, had experience. So 71% respondents of this questionnaire who participated at least once in a clinical trial had experience using an electronic solution to complete questionnaire at any point in time in their study, which came as an important number. I think it was higher than what I was expecting. So I found this figure quite interesting. We asked the respondents to characterize actually their experience of this device and to say how bad or how good their experience was. On a numerical scale of 1 through 5, going from bad, to very good, 85% of the respondents rated well their electronic device use experience, meaning 85% selected 4 or 5 in this numerical scale. We purposely excluded the 3, which was considered as not good or not bad. So it's important for all of us to realize across age ranges, across geographic regions, 85% of the participants have a good experience using electronic devices. So is really aging impacting patients' perception of electronic devices? Maybe not. We asked survey participants to inform us about their clinical trial model preferences. So we made it very clear in this questionnaire, in light of the new normal and the new operationalization models that exist, we made it very clear as to what a traditional site-based study is, where all the visits happen on site in the clinic, what a hybrid clinical trial is, when visits can happen at home and on site, and what a fully decentralized trial was, where all the visits happen outside of the clinic and more in the comfort of the home. Making it very clear as to those definitions, 47% of the respondents said that if they had a say in the way the next clinical trial would be run, they would prefer a fully decentralized home-based clinical study. 42% prefer a partially remote trial, what we call a hybrid model, leaving only 11% of the survey participants prefer a site-based clinical study. Is it what you were all expecting? Is this what we all expect? Maybe yes, maybe no. On the very question of whether aging can be impacting this result, and so did the older population more select one or another of those models? So you can see on that slide the different models being represented here, with the little gray on the top showing the site-based clinical study preference, and then the yellow showing the hybrid trial, and the blue showing the full home-based clinical study, so the fully decentralized model. Actually, the middle age generation, more importantly, selected the partially remote trial, maybe in this age population, there is this need of maybe more little bit separating the clinical trial from the home setting, and maybe in this period of age the patients then would be more sensitive to going a little bit to the site for their clinical trial. In the older generations, in the two older age groups, the hybrid model and the fully decentralized model were much more evenly spread in terms of preferences. So maybe in these older generations, maybe the COVID-19, of course, had an impact, and maybe at this age, the comfort of performing the study fully at home is something that becomes a very important criteria, despite the fact that this would mean using electronic solutions and maybe having more distance communications with the sites. It doesn't seem in these age groups to be seen as a problem that would prevent this patient population to be selecting the fully decentralized model as a preferred option. On that, I really want to humbly conclude that patients are definitely the ones allowing us to challenge our beliefs. It's important to see from what these patients told us in our research that they miss being aware of clinical trials options, and so we can think that informed patients would be much more likely to join clinical trials. Interestingly, we see that age does not impact patients' expectations nor their perception of digital solutions, and that the vast majority of the patients need clear and focused information, as they primarily expect very important level of clarity when we contact them for clinical trials. And these patients are more than ready for decentralized and hybrid clinical trials. So let us keep in mind what the patients are telling us. Let us stay focused on what patients can tell us, and let us make sure we continue and contribute to clinical research in collaboration with patients advocates. Let us just consider patients as partners. Thank you, and I think we're now ready for questions.